that is succeeding. So I'm expecting diesel to be on a healthy approach, unfortunately. Unhealthy for us, but healthy for it. Approach to $5 a gallon up to Labor Day. And I'm expecting that after Labor Day and heading on towards October, it's going to be climbing towards $6 a gallon for a national average. I'm hoping that does not end up the case, but I just have to expect the worst right now. I think a lot of other people are probably in the same boat I'm in, just looking at where things are going and just expecting the worst and trying to plan for it, get things taken care of, so that when that storm comes, they're ready for it. Case in point today, I decided to spend more money on my APU. Needed to get the coolant temperature sensor replaced because that was going bad, and it was throwing a couple of different codes. I will say this, the Thermo King APU, the ability for the individual owners and operators of those APUs to just take a USB cable out of that unit, plug it into a laptop, and read the codes, thanks to the program that the APU will let you run from your laptop without downloading any software onto your system or requiring updates or internet connection, really is nice. It keeps things pretty simple, and it does enable diagnostics to be done by the uneducated or the inexperienced, like myself. So that does help. And so I was able to figure out, yeah, this sensor's going bad, and I probably could have done it myself if I really, really tried. Just bought the part, done the work myself. But it's one of those things where I decided, you know what, discretion might be the better part of valor. Let's go ahead and pay to have it done, because a technician might find it may not be the sensor. It could be something else. It could be a wiring problem. It could be something else. It could be a fuse. It could be any one of a number of problems that I think could be the sensor. But it turned out, yes, it was the sensor. But along the way, the technician did discover another problem that I didn't realize was a problem, and that issue got addressed as well. So in a lot of respects, it was time well spent, along with money well spent, even though the money was not fun to spend. In theory, that was the last real gremlin to get dealt with for my APU, and also in theory, it should be the last one I need to deal with for a while, which is very good news. So I'm glad to have that taken care of, because it's still quite warm in the south. I'm in Louisiana right now, headed up to Mississippi. And no, I'm headed into Mississippi, because I'm taking 55 all the way up to Memphis, and then I'll end up staying at 55 all the way into Missouri, on my way to Iowa. I'll pass through St. Louis, pick up 61, and then north from there. Which, not looking forward to the grades in Missouri, but beggars cannot be choosers. And I chose to take the scenic route because I hadn't been this way in a long while, and I didn't want to go up through rural Alabama. So, you know, I made the bed, now I'm lying in it. Cost me some time, but oh well. This load doesn't deliver until Monday, so I'm not exactly hurt, so I'm okay with that. Anyway, diesel's going to be spiking up. It's going to be a rough second half of the year. It's not going to be fun. So every owner-operator is going to need to start battening down the hatches and negotiating for much better rates from the brokers, and the brokers in turn are going to need to begin telling their customers, look, we got to start charging more, otherwise we're not going to have any trucks to move your freight, so you got to be ready to fork over more money so we can get these loads out to the trucks, and the trucks can move your freight, which means that the product they're going to be selling, they're going to have to increase their prices, and in turn the end user is going to increase their prices. So eventually we're all going to be paying higher prices through the end of this year for a wide variety of things, just because the cost of transporting those goods, whether they're finished or unfinished, is about to increase dramatically. This time last year, diesel was hovering at about $5 a gallon before it climbed up to just south of $6 a gallon. And the result of that was the beginnings of an industry correction out of company positions and into owner-operator situations, whether they were lease agreement operators like I was, or they were lease purchase operators. And then, of course, when the supply chain disruptions really struck and the ability for the mega carriers to ingest or take on new units into their fleets and then sell off their old units, that stopped. So the price of used trucks spiked up to well over $100,000 for, you know, a truck with 400,000 miles on it. Massive overpricing because of a huge drop in inventory. That still hasn't quite corrected itself, but we're getting back to that point. Maybe in the next year things will be a little better. We'll see how that shakes out, but interest rates, of course, are still through the roof, so it's going to be difficult to get a good loan. And of course, resale value or trade-in value is going to be pretty crap for trucks with 700,000 miles plus on them. So not good times all around. And of course, that's all going to be exacerbated by the upcoming energy price crunch, where diesel is going to be going up hugely. I'm hoping it stays under 6 a gallon for diesel, because if it goes over 6 a gallon for diesel, we're going to be in for some really hard times in the trucking industry. Harder than they already are, and it's going to cause more businesses to shut down. It's going to lead to a further contraction in the availability of units to transport freight, whether that's dry van, flatbed, reefer, whatever, tanker, who knows, which means prices will have to go up for those of us who can still weather that storm, who can survive the price woes that are coming. And it's all thanks to a combination of the conflict in Ukraine, which is partly to blame, but I'm laying most of the blame at the extraordinarily awful energy policies of the Biden administration and their unwillingness to ensure America's energy independence by maintaining domestic production of crude oil, whether it's through shale or some other, drilling process, in order to make sure that U.S. energy independence was maintained. Instead, we remain beholden to OPEC, and unfortunately, because we remain beholden to them, they control pricing and they're putting a squeeze on us. The benefit, however, potentially is that, in theory, that will lead to a requirement for investment in American energy production, and those companies that shut down expecting that there would be no further real need for American energy because of the huge intended shift to electric vehicles, that trend will reverse itself, because the EV products, people keep trying to think of them as the same as cars and trucks with internal combustion engines, and there is story after story on the internet about that just not being the case. True to the point of that, this morning I read an article on Fox News. I know it's Fox News, you can't trust them, but they're doing their best to rattle their saber for the conservatives. I don't read CNN because it's all garbage, and I don't trust Fox News because it's all propaganda as well. But I do look at the headlines, and this story caught my eye because this fellow, who I consider to be an absolute fool, decided to buy an F-150 Lightning, spent $115,000 on it, thinking he was doing the right thing by the environment, quote unquote, and then he tried to treat it like it was a regular vehicle, and he tried to take a trip on it in it from, I think, somewhere in Manitoba, Canada, to Chicago, and he had no end of problems. He couldn't find places to charge, just had issue after issue after issue, and he ended up having to rent a gasoline-powered vehicle in order to finish his trip, and then he had to pick up his EV truck on the way back to Canada, and it was just a nightmare ordeal for him and his family. However, he's the fool because he didn't do his homework on what operating an electric vehicle would entail. He didn't quite grasp that they are not true over-the-road vehicles. They are not optimized, really, for crossing interstate distances. They're just not suited for it. They can do it, yes. Is it more difficult than it would be for a gasoline engine? Yes. And this guy learned that the hard way. It cost a lot more money than it needed to, and he had to rent a gas vehicle to get the job done. him because he made very much a great deal of mistakes that were avoidable. Because, the EV platform is still in its infancy, and yes, people need to buy them so that the subsequent generations can get better because of the investment that can be made off of the retail funds generated from the sale of the current generation. That will lead to more R&D for the next generation to be improved, whether incrementally or generationally. But as far as semis go, yeah, it's going to be a long while before the over-the-road semi-truck is even possible to really come into its own and actually operate anywhere near the same capacity or reliability or flexibility as a diesel semi-truck. Because as much as people want to tout the EV platform, it's just not ready to do the job that diesel semis are doing in any capacity. Right now, the best they can do is operate within closed loops or closed networks where they're going from one customer, one place, their point of origin, their home base where they can charge at, to either a customer that is set up to charge them, and that's just part of the shipping cost built in, or it is the company like Pepsi, Frito-Lay, which bought a whole fleet of the Tesla semis, and they operate them exclusively within their network of facilities where they can build charging stations to accommodate these vehicles, and thus when their employed drivers bring these trucks to their yards, they're remaining within a closed loop, ensuring that there is a closed network of support for these vehicles, which quite frankly is not a bad way to do business with the EV semi. In fact, right now it's the only way to do business with the EV semi, and I'm sure that whenever UPS and FedEx and DHL and whatever other LTL companies begin to buy the electric semis, when they start incorporating them into their fleet, they're going to be doing the same thing, where they're going to be using the hub and spoke method, where like in the case of UPS, you've got the major hubs where packages all come to, the rail yards come to, the trailers from over the road come into, and then they come in on internal combustion vehicles, whether it's truck or train, and then electric semis will eventually be able to take over from them, get those trailers moved to the hub, and then once those loads get broken down, then the electric semis eventually will take the short trailers, the double and triple short trailers, or the long trailers, however it works out, to the spoke center, which is the satellite areas around a given major hub, and then out to delivery from there. I mean, that's not a poor way to do business, because you're going to be able to control those facilities, incorporate the charging stations into them, and so that will enable UPS, FedEx, and whoever else that adopts these business models, these methods of operation, to reduce their fuel cost. And also it's going to enable them to support these vehicles, because they won't be using them in an over-the-road capacity, because there's no ability to go from Chicago to Los Angeles, for example, with an electric semi-truck, in any reasonable amount of time. I could do that run in 3.5 days with my diesel truck, and I can get back to Chicago from Los Angeles in 3.5 days. Maybe less, but I'm assuming 3.5 days. Doing round trip is going to be 1 week. I don't think an electric semi could do Chicago to Los Angeles and back in less than 10 days. I don't think it can be done, because the daily range of those trucks is at most 500 miles, and that doesn't take into account the loss of charge going up the mountains to climb out of the Los Angeles Valley, and then to go back down, then to climb up through the Rockies, and then on from there, and then of course to go back the same way and deal with all those grades as well. So it is what it is, but that's for the future. Right now, diesel's going to go up. It's not going to be fun. I'm hoping it's not going to be too insane, because there is no way for the government to offset the price of energy going up by releasing additional reserves of petroleum, because as far as I'm aware, those reserves are essentially exhausted. I could be wrong, hope I'm wrong, but that card's been played one too many times, and at this point we need to get back to being energy independent, and then once we have energy independence fully assured, then we can pivot towards some form of blended diesel, like sustainable aviation fuels, getting closer and closer to